is actually what we're looking at here. You can see on the screen right in front of you. Today is day 31 of 66 days in a row. We are doing the villains range today. So earlier, the prior day on day 28, I did this hand right here that you can see on the screen, the raise, bet, check, call, and then check on the river. This was for the heroes range to see what I was doing in a 3-bet pot. You could see it's a 3-bet filter here. So what I said earlier was, hey, I saw this hand and the action on this one. Raise, check, then I bet, and then I check, call. So we get to see a villain betting on the river and just calling on the turn, as well as calling and maybe raising and then calling pre-flop as well. So we're going to read the villain today in this hand. Let's see here, dated 7/15. Hand number, don't know it yet. Let's pop it open. 878 98163. Cool. We're in the big blind. And we 3-bet. Great. So of course, we also need our trusty Flopzilla open. And then we'll bring that hand back again. So let's see what happens. Oh, looks like somebody posted a small blind. Interesting. So we get a couple of limps. And then a pretty good sized from Meatpossums here. Throws out the pretty good sized 3-bet, not 3-bet, isolation raise over 2 limpers. Folds, and then look at that. So currently, over these 17 hands, I've only been at this table for a little while. I'm running a 12-6. I'm looking pretty darn nitty here. He should put a lot of stock behind my bet. He should. Who knows what he was really thinking. He's a tight, aggressive player, over 113 hands. He should think that I have a pretty darn good hand here. Fold, and he just calls. So what is ISO raising and then calling this pretty decent sized bet? It's not an incredible, it's like 2.5? 2.3, so 2 1/3 size bet is what I made it here. 2.3x times his bet. So what is making this call? Well, before I assign myself a hand, let's take a look at his calling 3-bet ranges here. Let's look at this. First off, what is his fold to 3-bet is 0, in position 0 times out of, waiting for a number, come on. Oh, only one instance. So we can't put too much stock in it, but we just want to think about what is opening and then calling here. He does have position, so let's not give him every pocket pair. Let's limit it at least a little bit here. 6s or better. Now, he's not 4-betting us. And seeing as how we are nitty, if he had aces or kings, I really think he would 4-bet. So let's take those out of the range. Ace king is a possible calling hand here versus a 3-bet, especially versus a nitty player. Nitty looking 3-bet here. Ace queen can be calling. Ace jack, both of them can be calling. Remember, he is in position. King jack and king queen, they're not the best of hands. They are offsuit, but players can sometimes call them, hoping to just hit a king, and then if I check, maybe betting for value, or checking behind to see a river with a showdown worthy hand with maybe with a king or a pair of queens, that kind of a thing. So we can put those in the calling range as well. 10-9, 9-8, 8-7. I've seen players call 3-bets with 8-7 suited. Earlier, we saw that one player call with 8-7 offsuit. That seems a little bit wide for this player here, so let's take that out of his range. But let's go with the 8-7 suited. Let's take off the Ace-9 suited. We'll go with the suited king. If he's calling King 10 and Jack 10, let's put the Queen 10 in his range as well. Because I think King 10 can be calling here with position. So let's say that this is his calling range, which is actually pretty narrow. It's wider than I would call. Calling a 3-bet, I probably would not be calling this. Possibly here, not that. Probably not those suited 10s. But we don't know that much about him. We will give him kind of a wider calling. Well, let's see what is his... Oops, wrong. His 3-bet stat. His calling 2-bets here... You know, he doesn't really call often in general. Let's go ahead and take these out of his calling range. Let's take that out. Take that out as well. Let's go with this. Yeah, let's narrow it down because it is a 3-bet pot. He doesn't call 2-bets that often. You know, probably not calling 3-bets all that often as well. I think 6s are a decent cutoff point there. Let's get rid of the 5s. So, Yep, I'm happy with assigning him this range. 10%, 134 combos. Now, it feels to me he's ISOing a pretty good size here, and I'm coming over with 2.3x, 2.3x 3-bet. It feels like I'm totally going for value here. I don't want to say that I've got aces. I will give myself kings in this instance. That's the hand that I'm thinking we have up against a pretty decently tight 10% range. We actually have 77% equity. I mean, the only thing that can really happen is, of course, he's got lots of suited cards. He could flop plenty of 2-pair hands, flop straights, flop flushes and stuff. But right now, we're only kind of worried about an ace. Not super worried about it because he does have, let me see here, 1, 2, 3, 48 plus 4. He has 52 aces in his range out of 116. So half of his little bit less than half of his range has aces in it. So if an ace comes, we are going to be kind of concerned, but we'll kind of play it by ear. Maybe not fold right away or check fold right away, but maybe play 1 or 2 streets on an ace high board. So let's see what happens. Oh yeah, he decides to call. And then we get a 5 deuce 4 club, club, spade. So on that board, if we had the pocket kings, we're way ahead 79% of the time. You could see that on the 5 deuce 4, I mean, he doesn't have any 5s, any deuces, or any 4s. He can't even flop a set on this. Can't even flop a straight because we took ace 3, and of course 3-6 isn't in his range. So really the best cards that he could have are overpairs as of right now. Flush draws, I mean, yeah, sure, those are in his range as well, but the overpairs. So we decide to just check. Maybe that means we have ace king or ace queen here as opposed to the pocket kings, which would want to go for value. And then he just checks as well. So, oh, let's look at stacks real quick. Full stack right here. So we started the hand with over over 100 big blinds, over $25 in the pot. So what is just checking behind and not going for value right here? Well, he doesn't have any of these in his range anyway. Over pairs now. I would say that queens and jacks are probably betting. Pocket tens on the deuce 4-5 board. I would think that pocket tens are betting as well, and pocket nines at least half pot. I mean, he was willing to call $4 pre-flop. If he has any of those queens through nines, I really think they're willing to bet here, especially because I could have ace king or ace queen. So he wants to charge me if I have those hands. Oftentimes eights and below people are just checking behind because they have some showdown value, but they don't necessarily want to commit much to the pot because I could have all of these and I could be slow playing them. So I'm going to keep those middle pocket pairs in his range, in his checking behind range. We're taking out those queens through nines. Top pair doesn't have any. Ace highs checking behind totally. No made hands could check behind as well. So a pretty good part of his range is checking behind. Flush draws. Now, my guess is really that nut flush draws are going to be betting here. I mean, he's loose aggressive. He c-bets 75% of the time. He doesn't treat the flop with that much respect. I think nut flush draws should be betting. So what I'm going to do is remove them from his range. Now, he could have the nut flush backdoor draw, with just the ace of clubs. So those are still in his range. I'm not going to go so far as to take those out. But I think even the kings and the king queen and the king jack should be betting here with the second nut flush draw with the 2 overcards as well, seeing as how I checked pre-flop. I really think, as I checked on the flop, I think he should be betting with those. I will keep the queen high, the third nut flush draw. I will keep that in his check behind range. If I check again on the turn, he could finally wake up with a bluff on the turn if he doesn't hit his flush. So let's take the nuts and the second nuts out. Drawing hands out. Open-enders gut shots. Why ace? Oh, because it's just a random ace. Any 3 makes, okay. So it just has, yeah, it's a gut shot with an ace. Those could be checking behind. 2-card backdoor. Yeah, totally. Those could be checking behind as well. Yeah, and then gut shot plus the overcard. Yeah, so a huge part of his range is checking behind here. Actually, his overcards, yeah. Wow, just about everything is checking behind. We basically just removed a lot of his nuts or nut drawing hands from his range right here. 74%, 86 combos. So we took him down from 134 to 86 combos. We removed a ton of his nut and nut draw hands from his range because those should be betting on such a not too scary board. I mean, think about it. Am I 3-betting pre-flop with deuces, 4s, 5s with that sizing? No, I really doubt it. Out of position, I'm not. So he shouldn't be worried about a set. The only things he should be worried about are aces, kings, and queens in my range. Even jacks, possibly. So I can see him, like we removed those 10s and 9s. I think most of the time he's betting those. But yeah, I'm going to keep them out of his range. I think most of the time he's betting the 10s and 9s and calling the 8, 7, 6. Yeah, so as of right now, if I do have the overpair that I'm slow playing on the flop, I've got 79% equity. So things are looking good if that's our hand. Ooh, now the 10 of clubs hits. Third club. Sure. I possibly had ace king or ace king. I'm sorry, ace king or ace queen. Probably not a king queen of clubs in my 3-betting range. So I only have 2 out of my entire range. I only have 2 clubs that I could have just now turned to flush with, ace king and ace queen. And if he has the ace of clubs, not him, I'm sorry. If he has the ace of clubs, then he's currently blocking me. I have no flushes in my range. The best I can have right now is a set of 10s. If he has a flush, he should be betting for value. Should be. So now I wake up with a half pot bet. He decides to just call. So what just calls on the turn club? What is it? It makes the pot a total $17 pot, 18 behind, basically a 1-to-1 stack to pot ratio. So he could be slow playing in position with intent on getting it in on the river with a flush, thinking that maybe I have a random ace king, ace queen that I'm not giving him any value. Although if he does have a flush, I think he should be min raising, not just calling here. What are his flushes? Queen, jack, 9, 8, 8, 7. Yeah, that's right, because we removed his nut flush draws. I think all of those, I can see all of them calling right here because he doesn't have the nut flush blocker if he has any of them, He just queen high, third nut flush. He could be calling 9 high or 8 high flush. Yep. Those aren't even in the range. Top pair. So just now turning a 10. Yeah, could just be calling. They're thinking that I don't have it and just doesn't want to give up on the hand. Pocket pair below top pair. Those could be calling. One street, hoping that we give up the river. We'll keep those in his range. Because I don't think those are all automatic folds. The 6s have a gut shot plus a pair if I didn't hit the 10. He has showdown equity plus a gut shot. 7s and 8s, they don't have the gut shot, but they still have showdown equity. So I can put all of those in his calling range. Ace highs, no, not calling. I think they're just folding. Nut flush draw, totally calling. Third nut flush draw. The random queen of clubs. I think those could be calling. Weak flush draws. Let's not put those in his calling range. No flush draw, no. Open end or gut shot. Actually, let's look at those weak flush draws. Okay, let's put... Whoops. Let's put that one in his range. The jack, the offsuit jack could be calling. Let's take out those weaker ones. Actually, we had them in for pocket pair below, so don't worry. Nah, it doesn't matter. What we just did didn't matter. It didn't change anything. No flush draws, no, not calling. Gut shots on that board, no, they're not calling at all. So we've actually narrowed him down to 50% of his, or 49% of his flop range with that. 41 combos, 49%. So if this is our hand, the pocket kings at this point, that would be great if we had that. But I'm not going to change it to that. But if we have the pocket kings, we currently have 73%. If we have the second nut flush draw as well, that's 81% equity. So right now we've narrowed him pretty darn far from the 134 combos down to 41. So we've taken away 2/3 of his roughly 2/3 of his range right now. So I'm thinking really the only thing that we should be betting on this river, because he called on such a scary board, I mean, it's a possible draw. If the river is a complete blank, like a 7 of, like a 7 of hearts, we could bet again for some kind of value to get a call out of a 10. That is if we don't have the nut flush ourselves, So the deuce of diamonds comes. So if I would have bet on the turn right there for value, that deuce doesn't really change much. He doesn't have any deuces in his range at all. It's not like he suddenly tripped up on me and my aces are now beat or my kings are now beat. So I think I can bet for value. If I bet on the turn, if I was going for value, not a bluff. If I was going for value, I think I can go for value again on this river. But let's see what happens. I check, and then he bets, leaving $7 behind. He bets a pretty good amount right there. And then I just decide to call. So before we see what is betting on this street, flushes are betting, top pairs are betting. I think. I mean, we showed some passivity on the flop and on the river by checking both times, and then we bet just a half pot. It could have been like a delayed bluff cbet on the turn club. Now that if we did have just a club, if he puts us on a flush draw, he can bet here expecting us to fold a really wide part of our range that didn't it's not like an overpair or a busted flush. Yeah, so I think he's betting expecting us to fold a whole lot. So those top pairs, would those top pairs even bet though? I don't think they're betting as a bluff. I think pocket pair below top pairs are betting. Flushes are betting for value. Top pairs are just, because look at that. It's a weak 10, and he's currently beat by every pocket aces, kings, and queens that I have, and jacks that I have. I think he's going to showdown with top pair. But pocket pair below could be bluffing. What's his aggression factor here? Aggression on the river, 100%. Oh, it's not a big sample to really know how he treats rivers here. Just his straight bet in position is only 50% of the time. Yeah, I think he could be bluffing or going for value. His showdown worthy hands, ace highs, no made hands, pocket pair below top are probably checking behind as well. Okay, so we're saying he's betting for value or just betting a straight bluff right here. I don't think he's betting any of these, especially not for $11. I mean, he could just bet half pot right here. Yeah. So I think he's probably on a bluff. All right. So against that range, if we have the kings, we've got 87% equity. Let's see what he has here. Ace king offsuit. Ace king offsuit. Sweet. We put him. Oh, and then he has the nut flush blocker as well. So he was probably using his nut flush blocking power. Oh, like I said earlier, I said that I could be making that turn play with the, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I was talking about having the nut flush possibility in my range. But the only nut flushes that I possibly had, when was I talking about that? I think I was talking about it right here. The only possible flushes that I have are ace king of clubs and ace queen of clubs, right? Because queen jack, king queen, I wasn't 3-betting pre-flop. Well, he has the blocker. So right now I have 0 flushes in my range. So because I have 0 flushes in my range and he has that nut flush blocker, I think he used it just as a straight bluff, thinking I don't have any flushes in my range. The best I can do is have a pair of aces at this point in his mind. And so he's just betting as a bluff. And I put him on the hand, betting for value or as a straight bluff. And that ace king is in it. Sweet. Good hand reading right there in a 3-bet pot. I think I played that. Oh, well, actually, I don't know what I had. Oh, sweet, jacks. Okay. Makes total sense the way I played it. Well, you know, I do like the check right there. I think by checking, I put some doubt in his mind, making him think that I could have ace king or ace queen. Now, the turn stayed a card below my jack, so I wasn't really scared. You know, an ace, a king, or a queen, I'd be kind of concerned that he might have that overcard that he checked behind and then hit. But then look at that. Things worked out for me. I had the overpair. I decided to bet for value right here, probably trying to charge any possible clubs that he had in his range. He called, and as we know now, he has the ace of clubs. But we check. Because we're just basically, there's probably not a lot on this board that he's calling a value bet with, right? So I think I was checking there to induce a bluff. I guess he could have called a 10. Yeah, he could have called a random 10. So maybe I missed out on value with, like I said, he was checking behind all those top pairs. It's possible that I missed value on the 10s right here. But I think a larger part of his range, as you can see, a larger part of his range are a ton of ace high hands. All of those are folding on this river if I bet, even if I bet $8. But by checking, I was able to get $12 out of the guy. $12 of value because he bluffed with the nut flush blocker. And I called with the jack. So that is awesome. Diamond heart. What was my equity? Whoops. 88% on that river. Yeah, so if that is the actual range in game, if I put him on this range, he's only betting his flushes and his bluffs right here, then hey, it's a totally good call 88% of the time. So I love that. That was a really good hand. I like the 3-bet pre. I like the flop check. I like the bet on the turn, and I like the check call on the river. I think a check raise on the river, I'm only getting called by flushes that beat me. I don't think there's any point in check raising right there, actually. Awesome. Well, that was a good hand reading. Day 31 of 66 in the bank. Come back next time for day 32. Thank you very much, y'all.